The other big story that was late last night, but certainly it is exploding today, has to do with Bubba Wallace, NASCAR driver. NASCAR's race at Talladega was canceled yesterday due to the rain, postponed, and it'll be run today at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So postponed due to the rain, and a noose was found in his garage where his car is. And he's the only full-time black driver in NASCAR's Cup Series. And he had been wearing Black Lives Matter on his car, his paint. He wore I Can't Breathe T-shirts. You know, he's been very outspoken. And I think it's been really illuminating that you've seen how NASCAR has changed overnight with saying we don't want the Confederate flag here, but there's always going to be outliers. You know, and when you realize what racism is fueled by ignorance and fear. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I think that's what you're seeing. And, Bubba Wallace had been doing so many great things and courage to stand up in that sport. And the noose was meant to put him in his place, plain and simple. He sent out a tweet. This was late last night. Today's despicable act of racism and hatred leaves me incredibly saddened and serves as a painful reminder of how much farther we have to go as a society and how persistent we must be in the fight against racism. He's got to go out and race today. I can't imagine what his night must have been like. Now he's got to go out and race. And, due to the COVID-19, the restrictions that we have, there's very few people that would have access to his garage. I don't know Talladega. I don't want to act like I know Talladega. Paulie sent me some pictures of the garages, and they're really close to one another. And if somebody had a noose and was hiding it and was able to throw it on the floor, I don't even know where it was found, but that doesn't matter as far as where it was found. Somebody did it. Do we have cameras to be able to find out who this person is? Because this is a hate crime. Somebody's going to go to jail for this. It's a hate crime. Plain and simple. And NASCAR wants you to be comfortable. And I know it's easy to go, well, why did it take them so long? Man, let's look at progress here. You're right. I mean, evolving. We're all evolving. We're trying to evolve. We're trying to understand. Hell, I didn't know what Ole Miss meant last week. We're evolving. We're asking. We're reading. We're curious. We need to be. That's all. NASCAR, yes, it took them forever. But they did something. Ole Miss, that is what the slaves called the wife of, the slave owner. The slave owner's wife was Ole Miss. I didn't know it. I truly did not know it. UNLV Running Rebels. I did not know that Reb was for a Confederate general. Didn't know. But now you evolve, you listen, you learn, you understand. We're trying to understand better. But I can't imagine that this true hero, Bubba Wallace, is a damn hero. Because that's not easy to do what he did. Now, you go to work today. He's there now. He's got a race at 3. He's walking in that garage. And I don't know what he could be thinking. But I hope the hell he wins. I don't root. I mean, I've rooted for Dale Jr. I've rooted for Denny Hamlin. I've rooted for certain guys in certain situations. Good God, I hope America is rooting for Bubba Wallace today. But that pressure, what that must be like. And he said, you're not going to break me. And I'm not surprised he said that because I wouldn't think it would break him. But wow, you got small-minded people who do this, and it's out of fear and ignorance. But, and we're gonna see if we can get the right guest on. And I'd love to have somebody who could tell me just what those garages are like at Talladega, because I've been to a couple of events, but you don't take pictures like that, snapshots where you go, oh, that's right. Paulie sent me pictures of Talladega. I mean, it's like an airplane hangar with all of these different garages. You have your separate little, spaces there. Your car is next to you. You basically police each other because the drivers are right next to one another. Your car next to the other one, but people have access to that. And even if we've limited this greatly, the access that people have because of the pandemic, there's still some people who could come in, the cleaning people, crew, NASCAR, I think is referring to this as an inside job. I would think it would have to be from the standpoint of how many people would have access to this and what kind of camera coverage would you have, because you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in those garages. But the exterior cameras, I'm going to guess it's only a matter of time before we find out who this is. But that person should go to jail. That's a hate crime. Say good morning to the Danettes. Hey, Paulie.
Dan, I just put together a couple different reports from different NASCAR reporters. The garages at most NASCAR events, there's about 15 people per team. That's what some of the reporters are saying. If you look, there's over 40 teams. So you're looking at 500 or 600 team employees just on the property that all have access. They don't really hang out in each other's garages, but they could, and they're open air. It's basically 40 open air garages. Talladega specifically has a garage fan experience, but the reports are that it was not open yesterday because of the rainout. But usually they would have a controlled atmosphere where fans can walk by behind a barrier and see the garages. They said that was not going on yesterday. But between track officials, people who are bringing water and other services, they said there was upwards of 800 people who had access to the garages during the day yesterday.
And somebody could sneak a noose in, if somebody had a fire suit on. I mean, I don't think that would be difficult to be able to get it in there. The question is, how many people are there, and do you have cameras there? And I'm sure that there are drivers on both sides of Bubba Wallace's car. Was anybody else there? Did anybody else see anything? But he's got to go out and race today. I didn't see the weather at Talladega, but he has to go out and race today. And it might be delayed again today. I don't know, but can't imagine that. Can't imagine that. And all of the positivity that had happened with NASCAR, with Bubba Wallace, and then this. And I know it's one person, and maybe it's not one person, but it's one person who did this. I don't know. It's like a punch in the stomach where you go, come on. Dave Moody was the guy that Paulie suggested we talk to, known as the Godfather. He lives at the tracks, lead turn announcer for Motor Racing Network, joining us from Talladega. Dave, thanks for joining us on short notice. Give us a set. Well, let me start with the obvious. The reaction when you heard about this yesterday afternoon or last night with the news found at Bubba Wallace's garage.
Well, horrified certainly is the first knee-jerk reaction. As a member of the NASCAR family, the NASCAR community, I would say there's a certain factor of embarrassment here, despite the fact that we don't know yet who's responsible for this. It's become a very much a front burner topic in the recent weeks, Dan, despite, 60 odd years in this sport battling with the different elements and facets of racism. But boy, it's become hot burner here lately. And it clearly is flushing a lot of people with antiquated views out of the shadows in a big time way here in the last few days.
Take me into the garages there, the setup that Bubba Wallace would have, and then who has access to that? It's
very different since COVID-19 than it has been. A year ago this weekend, there would have been literally thousands of people in the garage, fans and sponsor representatives and the like. This year, with the COVID-19 shutdown, there's a very finite number of people that have access to the garage. It's race teams, obviously race team members working on all those race cars. There are track personnel there, people that have to empty the garbage cans and the like. There's law enforcement. There's emergency medical people on hand. NASCAR officials, certainly. But it's a pretty finite number of people compared to what it would have been a year ago.
I don't know about, do teams have their own security for their cars, and what does Talladega offer?
They really don't. The tracks provide security. Obviously, the garage areas are fenced off. There is considerably more space between the actual teams this year than there has been in the past because they've gone to every other garage stall in order to help with the social distancing. But the tracks are responsible for cordoning off those areas. The garages are generally, and I can't say in every case, but they are generally locked up after the garage closes and the teams go home for the night. Who might have access during those, after hours times? I don't know. I'm reasonably confident, though, that with the assistance of video cameras and the like, we're going to find out who did this.
But do we know, like, has NASCAR even announced that they have cameras here? I haven't seen anything or heard anything, but I don't know if they have coverage of the exterior of these garages or interiors.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they have available to them. I know that that NASCAR as a sanctioning body travels with a lot of video coverage to keep an eye on things that are going on in the garage. Quite honestly, I don't know the extent of that. And very few people do know the extent of that. And that's kind of the idea. NASCAR, in a kind of modified Big Brother approach, they don't want these race teams to think that nobody's looking and nobody's seeing what they're doing to these race cars at any time during the course of the weekend. So I'm reasonably confident, without knowing the specifics, that they're going to have some video footage to look at here.
What's the weather going to be like at Talladega?
I don't know. It was a 20% chance of rain yesterday. The rain moved in about 2 hours before race time, and it just never let up. The forecast for today is not as good as it was yesterday. But I'll say this, Mother Nature has not been a friend of ours this year. We were supposed to rain out far more often than we were supposed to race. And while we've had a few of those this year, more than we would like, we've also gotten a few in that the weather guessers didn't think we had a chance at. So we'll see.
This is a hate crime, Dave. I think somebody should go to jail for this. Whoever it is. I don't know if they said, well, maybe it's an inside job. I mean, to me, I don't care if it's unless it's somebody on Bubba's team. If it's an inside job, they should go to jail for this.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I know at this, at a time like this, it's hard to look at a situation like this as anything positive. But in a backhanded sort of way, it is. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, we in the NASCAR community have been able to look at our circle of friends and realize with a great degree of certainty that some of them are dinosaurs and some of them are still in the 1800s and some of them are, up until very recently, closet racists. And every opportunity we get to weed them out, even if it's one by one or one a week or one a month, it's still one fewer than we had when we started. So I guess that's the upside to all of this.
Yeah, and I hear people, and you've spent your life in this sport, Dave. I just do drive-bys with this. I'm curious, and I like the personalities, and we have a lot of those guys as guests. But, when somebody says, well, NASCAR finally got rid of the Confederate flag, I look at it as, yes, could we have done it before? But they did it. Like that's progress that you did it. And here we are talking about this. I mean, you probably didn't think there would be a day maybe in your lifetime that Confederate flag would not be flying inside a track.
That's right. It's been very slow to happen. It's taken far too long. NASCAR is still a predominantly, an overwhelmingly white male sport. Even in comparison to other branches of motorsports, NASCAR remains a white male sport. They're working awfully hard to change that. They've made some terrific progress. Bubba Wallace is certainly an example of that. So the fact that it's taken too long is sad, but the fact that it's finally happening, it's been a cataclysmic last couple of months for our sport between COVID-19 and all of the Confederate flag discussion and debate. It's been a tsunami, really, that's overtaken this sport, and I don't think we've seen the last of it yet. Yeah,
NASCAR's got to NASCAR, like baseball. You have an older, your fan base is older. NASCAR's partnering with Barstool Sports to try to get younger. You would think you would be trumpeting Bubba Wallace. Here's a good-looking guy, not afraid to stand up, speak his mind. This is the future. That's a whole different fan base. And hopefully NASCAR is looking at it that way. And I'm watching today, but I'm watching for Bubba Wallace. God, I hope the hell he wins. So
I understand that completely, and you're right that it's a mystery to me that corporate America has not yet found a reason and an excuse to step up and get behind Bubba Wallace with everything positive that he has going for him. And quite honestly, there are no negatives with Bubba Wallace. And then you factor him in with Richard Petty, with the hat and the sunglasses. Is the most recognizable personality in the history of our sport. He's our Muhammad Ali. You could send him to Uzbekistan and someone would walk up to him in the airport and ask him for his autograph. So it's baffling to me that nobody in corporate America really has seen fit to any great degree to get behind this young man. But I'm hopeful that this may change, maybe for all the wrong reasons, but the end result may turn out to be right.
Dave, thanks for joining us and good luck this afternoon. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Dave Moody, lead turn announcer for Motor Racing Network, host of SiriusXM Speedway on SiriusXM, the NASCAR radio channel. All right. There's no easy pivot here, but, you start to look at these situations here, and it felt like that there's progress in that sport. And I'm not here to police or dictate or as much as I just observe it. And that was where I couldn't help but, I looked at Bubba Wallace and I went, how many people would do that in their sport, have the guts to do that, to stand up and say, this is who I am. This is not who this sport is. And he did it. He's doing it and will continue to do it. And they'll find a person who will be outed. And, it's a hate crime. They should go to jail. Absolutely. But yeah, I'll be watching Talladega today.